Namaskar.
Namaskar. So, good evening and a very warm welcome on behalf of Chitnavis Centre, Nagpur. Chitnavis Centre is a place for human resource development, and we have a sprawling campus in the heart of the city and do a lot of charitable work, like giving scholarships to deserving students from economically weak background. We conduct special classes for students from the slum areas. Then for the disabled, we have skill development workshops, women empowerment, and all these activities. For that, we raise the funds by hiring out the facilities in Chitnavis Centre for various functions, seminars, art shows, and stuff like that. So it's a very enjoyable thing. And one of our initiatives is to get people to know from eminent personalities, artists, and bring their programs. And presently, because of COVID, we are doing it on the online. Otherwise, we do it actually physically in our premises. So, sir, with your permission, just for those who may be hearing you for the first time, allow me to introduce you because, yeah. So, well, our country is blessed. I must say that the vachan given by Bhagavan Shri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya, Aham Atmanam Srujami Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. I assume different forms and appear from time to time to enlighten the seekers. Now, this vachan has been upheld down the ages and is continued to be fulfilled by the good Lord. And so, therefore, somewhere in 1957, a Himalayan guru, Sri Maheshwarnath Babaji, appears in the garden of a Muslim home in deep down Trivandrum. Standing near the jackfruit tree, he touches the inner being of a 9-year-old Mumtaz Ali and transforms the life of this young man on the journey for quest of truth. It is, I'm sure, the God's way of bringing to us and the seekers his form in this avatar. The 9-year-old started experiencing inner transformation. He started meditating without even knowing the word meditation. At his age of 19, Shri M set out for the Himalayas in quest of his guru. And after an excruciating, exhausting, and arduous journey, he finally met his guru, Sri Maheshwarnath Babaji, at the Vyas cave near Badrinath. Next 3.5 years were spent under the guru's Chhaya Chhatra to receive all the knowledge, deep insight, and realization that a sadhaka aspires. And at the order of Babaji, he returned to the plains to prepare for his life's mission. He met many spiritual gurus, Neem Karoli Baba, J. Krishnamurti, Jaigat Ramakrishna Mission, and Krishnamurti Foundation. And all along his journey, he experienced both the material and the mystical. In 1998, he received the go-ahead command from his guru, leading to the formation of Satsang Foundation. This foundation undertakes several initiatives to be spiritual guide, do social reforms, and provide right education. The Satsang Vidyalaya, a free school providing high-quality multilingual education. Satsang Rural Vidyalaya, the People Grove School, a residential co-ed school, and several others. In 2015-16, Shri M did a 15-month-long Padayatra from Kanyakumari to Kashmir to restore the innate spirituality of the nation. His biography, Apprenticed to a Himalayan Master, a Yogi's Autobiography, is very, very interesting. I have read it and it is widely read, and subsequent to that, he's come out with a sequel, The Journey Continues. Friends, his journey continues beautifully gliding through the material and the mystical. Shri M is married and has 2 children. He's living example of Vedanta in all that he does and says. We are lucky, very, very fortunate to hear directly from him how to practice Vedanta in day-to-day life. Today, we are very grateful to you, sir, for your gracious acceptance of our request to enlighten us. Friends, I am blessed to share with you this evening the divine company of Padma Bhushan Guru Shri M. Namo Namaste. Namaste.
So, I'll talk for a few minutes and then we have question and answer.
Yes, sir, it's only your time.
Yeah, because it'll be nice to have some interaction.
Yes, some questions have come which we will ask.
Sure. So, let me start with a Vedic prayer. Om Sahana Avavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Yes, so the subject is Vedanta in day-to-day life. So let me, in few words, explain Vedanta and what we call day-to-day life.
Okay.
Yeah. So Vedanta is the word Vedanta indicates the wisdom that comes to us from the essence of the Vedas, which are the Upanishads. In fact, when a student goes to study Vedanta, 3 are his curriculums which are fixed. Traditionally. They are called Prasthanatrayas. 1, of course, Upanishads. 2, the Bhagavad Gita. And 3rd, the Brahma Sutras. Basically, you can read other things, you can study other things, but this is important, all these 3. Now, while the Upanishads may not be so easy to understand, the Gita from which you quoted just now, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya, and so on, is actually the essence of the Upanishads, therefore the essence of the spiritual wisdom which has come from this country but is meant for the whole world. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. This is from the Vedas, so it can't be only for us, but we are proud that it is, the origin is here in this country. Okay. Now, the Bhagavad Gita, Vyasa himself, while writing the introduction, says the slokas that precede the Gita consider Gita to be the essence of the Upanishads. I don't want to quote, we will lose time if I quote. I will begin and then not go beyond too much. He says, Sarvo Upanishato Gao. If all the Upanishads are the cows, consider them to be cows. And if Krishna is the one who milks, Gopalanandana, Dugdha Gopalanandana. And if Partha is the calf, when the calf hits the udder of the cow, the milk comes. So Partho Vatsaha is the calf. Dugdham Gita Amritam Mahat. And so the Gita's Amrita is drunk by the wise and enjoyed. Right. So it is an Upanishad. It declares at the end of each chapter that it is an Upanishad. Why I am saying? Because the word Vedanta is used. Basically, Vedanta, the essence is in the Upanishad. So it says, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, so Upanishad Brahma Vidyayam. This is the Upanishad which teaches us Brahma Vidya. Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. This is how every chapter ends. So it's clearly Vedanta. Now what I want to bring this point home, if it is Vedanta which is being taught in the Gita, where is it being taught? In the middle of a battlefield? No, battlefield is action. It's an action, but it is a battle for righteousness. It's not a battle for evil. It's a battle for righteousness. That difference is there. So, all the teachings of the Gita, while they take us to understand the inner realities, that we are in fact, in essence, a spark of the divine, and that we are not different from the essence of the Supreme Being, even though it may be seen in a smaller way because of our limited brains. Like while Shankara said there is only one Supreme Being and everything else is illusion and so on. So, in the ultimate essence, yes, we identify in Vedanta as the essence of the Supreme Reality, true. But the great Ramanuja put it this way when he said that essentially the Brahman, who he called Sriman Narayan, and I, and all the animals in the whole world, we are all part of the same substance. Like now water is H2O. Those days they didn't use that word. The water in the river, the water in the sea, the water in the pond, it's all H2O in some way. With some things mixed, of course, pure or impure, it doesn't matter. But you cannot run a ship in a small bowl of water which is kept on the table. Even though, in essence, that water is also the same as the water in the river and the sea. So Ramanuja said that little difference may be there between us, limited human beings, and the Supreme Being, although in essence we are part of the Supreme Being. So when this is understood, when we understand that in essence we are a spark of the divine, the second thing that happens immediately after that is that you also recognize that divine spark in other beings, in other living beings, in other human beings. So therefore, whatever activity you do in your daily life, you do it with the understanding that you are worshipping the God or the Supreme which is in every heart. In temples, of course, we have consecrated, there are deities, we go there and worship, fine. But every living being, especially human being, because human beings can recognize that they are conscious, are moving, walking temples of God. Therefore, a true Vedantin who understands that the spark in him is also the spark in the other, makes sure that he does seva to the other living beings, considering them to be temples of the divine. I think if this basic idea is there in the mind, then the practical way of how we do it can be changed, fitted for daily life, can be changed according to circumstances. But the thing to remember is that we are in essence, a spark of the divine. With this idea, if we move forward, then it's possible. Now, I'll give you some examples. All great Vedantins start from Adi Shankara, whom we know, who's so famous. From Adi Shankara is supposed to have known the essence of Vedanta. But after knowing that, he walked all the way from the south of India to Kedarnath, teaching people and trying to help them to understand the truths of the Upanishads. Now that is his day-to-day life. His realization is Vedanta. Swami Vivekananda, contemporary times, was a being who understood the essence of the Supreme. I have no doubt about this. And yet, the work that he did in 39 years of his worldly life, 100 people could not have done in 100 years. So, and what we have to remember is that all the work was not self-centered, but for others. So, I believe that when you understand this truth, your work doesn't stop. I am engaged all the time doing something or the other. You don't, after realization, after finding the truth, you don't have to sit in the cave all the time. You have to come down and translate it into daily action. And that action in day-to-day life would be not self-centered, but for the benefit of others. This is the work that you can expect from one who has understood Vedanta. And Swamiji very nicely put it. Swami Vivekananda, he said, Atmano mokshartha jagat hitayecha. Moksha for the Atman, hita for the world, for the jagat. This is the way that one can live while rooted in the essence of the divine, also recognizing the divinity in others and doing what we can for the world. I would call that day-to-day life. Okay. The second, psychological part. Anyone who has touched that or is moving towards that, that's also possible, comes to a state called Stitapradna, which means Sarvatra Samabuddhaya, in the words of the Gita. Now, which means you can actually work more efficiently in your day-to-day life than when you are bogged down by opposites. See, normally we try to do something, When sorrow comes or when it doesn't succeed, we are depressed. We try to do something, when it succeeds, we are so elated that we often forget that we are standing on the earth. So, when you are in Sarvatra Samabuddhaya or in Stitapradna, when your buddhi is steady under all circumstances, good or bad, pain or happiness, then I believe that you can work more efficiently in your day-to-day life than otherwise. Also, you are not addicted to anything that can pull you down. You are only addicted to something which is a good thing, and that is to your own self, to inner self, and the joy that comes out of it. So, with this, we can do lot of work, and since we don't care and we don't consider ourselves as important, the work can be done much more perfectly than we would do if we are always worried about ourselves. So, while in Vedanta we are looking for the ultimate self, it is not the small self which says this is mine, that is mine, this is not mine. It is the expanded self which, when the mind grows and understands the truths of Vedanta, is able to function better in day-to-day life without getting hassled by any danger or any circumstances. This is exactly what Krishna is telling Arjuna. Work. Don't worry about the consequences, as long as the work is for righteousness and not self-centered, not for your own glory. So I think it's possible, therefore, to realize the self, to understand Vedanta and apply it to day-to-day life, so that the movement and the work that we do in day-to-day life becomes more perfect, more, what shall I say, distinctive and helpful for others. Sarva bhuta hite ratha, welfare of all living beings in one's heart. If that can be done, then I think there is no dichotomy between Vedanta and day-to-day life. Apply it. Now, there is one more thing I need to say. There is one theory called socialism or communism, whatever you want to call it, where everybody is considered to be equal. Where everybody is considered to be equal. Unfortunately, nobody is equal. Everybody is unequal in some way, either through birth or through education or even genetically. We are not really equal to each other. Yeah, we are equal that we are human beings, right? Okay, agreed. But apart from that, there are many inequalities inside our system. However, there is one thing that is equal, and that is that we are all sparks of the divine. If we are equal because we are sparks of the divine, then we do not discriminate against anybody else because we see the soul in everybody. I would call it Vedantic socialism. It's not my word. It was coined by Swami Vivekananda, and there was a philosopher who's no more, who's also into politics, who passed away many years ago, called Deen Dayal Upadhyaya, who also wanted to bring this Vedantic socialism into your daily life and practice. Unfortunately, he was murdered actually in his young age, in his youth. Not youth, but middle age. So, I personally claim to be a Vedantic socialist. And I think that socialism is good per se, provided it is not connected only with materialism, but also understands the equality of the Atman. That kind of socialism, not only is it good for us, it also comes from the essence of our own culture. It doesn't come from a foreign land, it doesn't come from some other philosophy, it comes from this country. Having said this, may I stop today's talk? You can have question answers by saying that yes, Vedanta should be applied to day-to-day life, and being a Vedantin doesn't mean you become a sannyasin and go away. You work living in the same circumstances which you live, but work in a better, more efficient, more calm, more quiet, and more beneficent way towards other human beings. With this, I would like to stop my talk. Now we are open to questions.
Thank you, sir. Very, very beautifully and simply explained. So there is one question which has come, that I am not able to comprehend the teachings of Vedanta. However, I may try. I find it very difficult to even practice meditation. So I believe in prayers. I believe in puja. So is there some salvation for me or no?
This is a normal question, sir. Many people feel that they cannot understand Vedanta. First, let me clarify this. Vedanta is not such a difficult thing to understand. First, and when you say Vedanta for salvation, salvation does not mean that you should learn all the Brahma Sutras and all the textbooks, then take sannyas and then have moksha. It's not like that. Salvation has different meanings for different people. Perhaps what this person is trying to say by the word salvation is that can I do my puja and all that, need not bother about Vedanta, and can I live happily in this world? Probably that's what she meant by salvation. She or he, whoever. I think this is possible. Not everybody goes and studies the Upanishads and see, but watch out. When you live in this world, wonderful to do puja, wonderful to do aradhana. Look, it's better to go every day to the temple and do puja and enjoy what you're doing, rather than at 7 o'clock, as soon as the gong rings, rush to the bar and drink. Which is better? No, you tell me. It's good to, it's a practical question. It's a good thing to do aradhana. It's a good thing to make garlands. It's a good thing to put garlands. It's a good thing to worship the deity. With that, we get some connection with the divinity who has been presented in different forms in the Bhagavad, for instance. And when it comes to Shiva, there is not even a form, there is just a linga. So, what happens with this aradhana is that you are tied up to something where you can express your spiritual feelings as if it is a personal thing. The only problem is when you do aradhana and puja, basically people, what they do is, oh, can I get a promotion? Oh, may my daughter have a child? Then that salvation is a small salvation. While you are doing, that's also a salvation, of course, because it's a problem you want to solve it. It may get solved, it may not. Problem is, if it may not get solved, then don't stop your aradhana and say, oh, it's all bunkum, I did this, nothing happened to me. If one can live this way, there is no harm. That is also salvation. You don't have to study the Upanishads, Brahma Sutra. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa studied nothing. So that's not a criteria. I had to study it because Babaji Maheshwarnath Babaji made me go through this whole grind, because he said you will meet all kinds of people who might even challenge you and say, what do you know? Otherwise, I was not into it. I wanted to just touch that. And he said, but you go through all this. So I went through all this so that I know when somebody talks, many kind of people come to me and ask questions. Some people say, we are from the Nath Sampradaya. I say, look, I am also from the Nath Sampradaya. So let's discuss. They say, oh, we are Vedanta. Yes, okay, Upanishads, let's discuss. Some people come, we are following the Tantra Marga. Fine. So which Tantra do you want to discuss? Kularnava Tantra, Mahanirvana Tantra, which one do you want to discuss? So Babaji put me through this grind. So I know now that it is like that. So please, for this person who asked the question, please continue with your aradhana, but keep your life good and try to become as selfless as possible. If that doesn't happen, even all the study of Vedanta is not going to help.
Okay, so sir, the sequel to this question is that gurus have said that bhakti finally leads to jnana. Can you please explain what does it exactly mean?
Okay. Now that kind of bhakti, normally when you say bhakti, It means what I was just saying. Can I get a promotion? Please help me. I am sick. Please, can I become well? That kind of bhakti cannot lead to any jnana. But if the aim of the bhakti is, if you ask the Lord, whoever you consider, your Ishtadevata, please give me wisdom so that I can finally find the truth, then that bhakti will lead to jnana. Now, however, in the reverse, all people who have found jnana, Gyan, through the study of the Upanishads or through meeting a teacher who was an expert in jnana or who had realization of jnana, they also must have a small element of bhakti in their hearts, otherwise they cannot move forward. This is my understanding. You see, when I say bhakti, it means a certain earning for the divine. Not to get something from the divine, not to get a house or a wife, or the earning for experiencing the divine. If this earning is there, already there is bhakti. Even if one tries to find it through jnana marga, unless and until there is an element of bhakti in the heart, that thought itself will not come into the heart, into the brain. That's what I think. So there is no dichotomy really. The only thing is, some people like to say that you can attain jnana through bhakti. Some people like to say that bhakti will come if you have jnana. I think both are different approaches to the same goal. I can't consider one as inferior to the other. No.
Both lead to the same. Yeah. Thank you, sir. So there is one more question. This is from a businessman who says that my business has come to a standstill in the last 4 months and no amount of prayers are helping. Nothing is happening. How do I live Vedanta in these circumstances?
If you knew Vedanta, then you would have lived happily under these circumstances. It's not through prayers that your business improves. Business improves through taking proper steps to improve your business. Prayers help to keep you quiet and happy and tranquil. If you had understood the essence of Vedanta, then you probably would not have been so uncomfortable now in this period. Now what has happened is, you see, we start praying generally only when suffering comes.
Yeah. Yes.
Otherwise we light an agarbatti, that's okay, or a lamp. But apart from that, intense prayer starts when we are in trouble. Guru Nanak said this very nicely when he said, Dukh mein sumiran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi. So, now we will pray hard, but this COVID will also pass. Please tell this gentleman, this COVID will also pass. Flu has passed, SARS has passed, what is that, Spanish flu has passed, measles has passed, smallpox has passed, many pandemics have come and many pandemics. This will also go. Well, I am not an astrologer. From what I see, it looks like by August it should clear and by September we are free. It's not based on any stars or calculation, please. I don't go into all that astrology business. But looking at the graphs and seeing that this virus is also has a time span and a lifespan, I would say it also will end. Now, this is the time, of course, good to pray, but this is also the time to prepare so that when it opens up, you know what best to do in your business opportunity. This is the time to prepare. You might have committed many mistakes before. Now you can sit down, take a piece of paper. Now nobody uses paper. Keep your laptop and see, where did I go wrong? How can I set it right? So that when it opens up, you can be able to take the right decisions. I expect that when it opens up, the economy is going to go for a big boom. In the beginning, it will be low. It will go up, then the graph will turn up. This is the time to prepare for it. Look at alternatives. If this business didn't work, see what can work. This is the best. So utilize this time. This is called Vedanta in day-to-day life.
Yes, right. So there is one question that how is Kriya helpful in attaining the Vedantic truth? How will it help me?
Now, when I say Kriya, the word Kriya simply means a practical method. You see, okay, it doesn't mean one particular Kriya. When I say Kriya, I am talking about one parampara of Kriya. Yes, agreed. But Kriya in general means a technique. So in the Yoga Shastras, there are many Kriyas. So why are there Yoga Shastras when Vedanta is already there? I go back to the Gita. At the end of each chapter, the Gita Vyasa says, Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu. It is the Upanishad. What does it teach? Brahma Vidyaya. What is the next sentence? Yoga Shastra. So why Yoga Shastra? Because the truths of Brahma Vidya which occur in the Upanishad cannot be grasped until the mind is purified. For purifying the mind and keeping your Ida and Pingala, which means your prana, in balance, it is essential to do some kind of yogic technique. So, Kriya is also one of the techniques. In fact, the authority on yoga is considered to be generally Patanjali. Unless you are reading the Sankhya Sutras, generally it is Patanjali. Now, Patanjali in the second chapter, which is called the Sadhana Pada, the beginning of sadhana, which means practice, he defines the whole of the Yoga Sutras as Kriya Yoga. Swadhyaya Ishwara Pranadhanani Kriya Yoga. That means turning your mind towards the Supreme Ishvara and doing Swadhyaya, means Swadhyaya, understanding by oneself, is called Kriya Yoga. So, the Yoga Shastras have many Kriyas, but when I say Kriya, it comes from a certain parampara. So, what does Kriya do? It balances the pranas. It makes your mind free of all the vrittis, chitta vritti nirodha. Only such a mind, a purified mind, gets the capacity to understand the higher truths of Vedanta. Suddenly one cannot understand. One can read, but one cannot understand. So, this is the use of Kriya. It may not necessarily
It is kind of a preparation.
Yeah, it need not necessarily be the Kriya that I teach. When I say Kriya, I mean a technique required to purify the mind and free it of all the vrittis. A mind without distractions is essential even to understand Vedanta. Even the great Shankara, who has written so many commentaries on Vedanta, says that if you cannot fix your attention on the inner self, you can attend to your breath and balance it so that you can reach there. Viveka Chudamani. Text.
Right, sir. Any other questions which are there any? Sir, one personal experience is that the Vedantic truth of Tattvamasi is fine, but other than Sri Raman Maharshi, who taught us how to practice it, how to go towards it, and Vipassana, I haven't come across any other technique. I'm a follower of Sri Raman Maharshi's and try and practice self inquiry. And it is a direct method and found it suitable for me. But generally, people say that okay, Tattvamasi is fine, but how do we practice it? How do we ensure that we are able to actually move forward in that?
You cannot practice Tattvamasi. It's not
Realize it.
you cannot practice Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi is merely one of the Veda Vakyas. Of the four Veda Vakyas, which are Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Prajnanam Brahma, and I am Atma Brahma. These are the four Veda Vakyas from the Upanishads. Now, Tattvamasi is only one of them. It simply says that in true essence, you are not different from that. In true essence, not otherwise. So, therefore, if you say, is there a practice? The very understanding of this is a practice. The very understanding of this, that I am not Sri Vilas Kale or I am not Sri M sitting here, but I am actually a part of that tat. The very understanding of that is a technique, because it's a mind technique, it's not a physical technique. Now, different people approach it in different ways. Some people approach it through devotion. Some people approach it through the jnana marga of trying to figure out who am I, what am I. But who am I? My true identity is not understood by sitting down in one place and keeping on chanting, who am I, who am I, who am I. Then it becomes a repetition. Yeah, you can as well say Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola. You won't become Coca-Cola, right? It will be there.
Right.
So therefore, chanting that is not a solution. That basically what it means is to think that if I am not the body, what can I be? This thought process itself is a practice, and it is a repetitive practice. You need to constantly think of it. Why? Because in this world, the experiences of our world always take us away from Tat. No?
Yeah.
They divide our thoughts, they take us away from. So to break that chain and to come to the understanding of Tat, that itself is a sadhana. It's a practice. And you said you also do Vipassana. Now what is Vipassana?
No, I don't do. I don't do Vipassana.
No, you said something about Vipassana.
Yeah, but I've heard that Vipassana is also a direct method of trying to quieten the mind and experience the consciousness within.
Now the problem is everyone in each field says this is the only direct method. That is the problem.
So when the next question is, when are you coming to Nagpur?
That is a practical question. I was supposed to come in August.
Yes.
Saket was arranging everything for us and we were going to do it, but because of this COVID, we have changed it. So I think sometime in October we can do it. Maybe October.
Okay,
Perhaps.
sir. We're looking forward to that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Looking forward.
So we can wind up. Is it over? No? Yeah.
I don't have any more questions.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Namaskar and Dhanyavad.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Right.
Namo Namah.
Namo Namah.